This is Reality Dispatch, written by Jim Mins.
The suspension on the hire car bumped rigorously on the unpaved road leading out of Salzburg. The wet weather didn't help Roger Dayton maintain control as he veered to the left, against his instinct to drive on the right side of the road. However, he blamed this on having just been in the UK, where his last article had him embedded long enough to get used to left-hand driving. The assignment was quick and simple: take a few snaps and ask questions. The estate appeared in vision within a few clicks of Google Maps. Roger slowed the vehicle on approach. The gates to the estate were expansive and stretched the entire vicinity, with the entrance showcasing a particular design that sat out of kilter with the modern elements on display of the main house. A digital video display was secured to the side that lined up perfectly with the driver's side window. Roger Dayton from Live magazine. "I'm here to interview Gustav Minnow," Roger said into the speaker. There was no acknowledgement, just the sliding of the electronic gate to allow him access. Roger assumed he could park his car anywhere, and so drove the vehicle over to the front door to escape the rain. As he arrived, the rain was hefty, and Roger ducked his head in a futile attempt to remain dry while waiting for the door to open. Gustav Minnow appeared wearing his relaxed Sunday attire. Roger thought his thick spectacles were fitting for a soon-to-be recipient of the Nobel Prize. "Mr. Minnow?" Roger said with an outstretched hand. "Roger Dayton, Live magazine." Gustav shook Roger's hand and waved him inside the house. "Good to meet you. Where do you want to do this?" "Well, I was hoping you would tell me," Roger said. "What's your favorite room?" Roger stood in the alcove awaiting Gustav to lead the way. "Well, my favorite room is my bedroom, but I don't suppose you want to take my picture in there," Gustav said, waving Roger further inside the house. "Fair point." "Well, a better way to ask is, what room do you do all your work in?" Gustav thought for a moment. "I mostly do all my work in here," he said, leading Roger through a door by the entrance to the house. Inside was a large bookshelf that spanned the entire wall. There was a leather-bound armchair adjacent that had 3 upturned books lined on it. No other furniture was present. This was a room for a single purpose only: reading. "You do all of your work in here?" Roger asked. Gustav pointed towards his temple. "This is where I do my work. I don't need any modern contraptions or devices, just silence." "Take a seat then," Roger instructed as he removed his Pentax from his messenger bag. He focused the image on Gustav and clicked the shutter for the light test. "No warning?" Gustav asked, surprised at the speed with which Roger had progressed. "No. I'll let you know when we're on for photos. I just wanted to get a sense of the room and the light filtering in. Just sit down and put yourself in a relaxed pose." Roger removed his handheld tape recorder from his backpack and placed it on the floor a foot away from Gustav so that it wouldn't show on camera yet was close enough to capture his answers. "This is recording right now, just so that you are aware," Roger warned. "I'll start to take some preliminary images now. Can you please cross your legs and focus your gaze behind me on the wall by the room's entrance?" Roger looked at him through the viewfinder. "So, I'm not looking at you?" "No, just ignore me and ignore the camera. You are a mid-thought. You are working." The room is silent. "If you could imagine that for a moment or two, I'll see what the camera can grab." Roger clicked away and positioned himself throughout the room, moving in a horseshoe formation around the armchair. "When will you ask me questions?" Gustav wondered. "Well, I can start the interview now if you are under a time constraint," Roger replied. "No, not at all. I have all the time in the world," Gustav reassured. "I've never been subjected to a magazine interview before. I just didn't know what to expect." "Well, I've never interviewed a scientist before. I too do not know where to begin." Roger chuckled. Gustav smiled. Roger continued to click away. He checked his progress on the LED screen and was surprised by the results. The mid-afternoon sun was not burning too hot through the windows. The rain that had dissipated had left a cloud behind that created a veil that was perfect coverage, where the light fell in all the right places and the shadows were not stark or uncouth. The room came up perfectly. Gustav, however, flickered on screen as if he was disappearing out of frame. Roger scanned the previous images, and all were the same. Gustav sitting in his chair, his legs crossed, his gaze focused on the back wall with his hands under his chin and his index fingers pressed to his lips. But his entire body was half flickering in and out of the frame as if he were disappearing. "Odd," Roger said aloud. "Something the matter?" Gustav asked. "Something is not right with my camera. We can always take some snaps after our chat," Roger suggested. Let's have our chat now. Tell me about your work. Roger sat on the floor with his legs crossed like a schoolboy, the camera lying flat in his lap. He placed his palms behind him for comfort and reclined a little, settling in for the conversation. That's a very loaded question, Mr. Dayton, Gustav said with a grin. Why is it a loaded question? Roger asked. Well, it assumes I can relay to you in simple terms the work I craft in the name of physics. That's the same as me asking you if the extent of your work is to snap pictures and ask questions. That is the extent of my work, Roger affirmed. But that says nothing of the results of your work. That's merely the method, Gustav said. Roger leaned forward, intrigued as to where the conversation was headed. I'll be honest, I know nothing about physics. I was sent here because I'm the best snapper on the beat, and the magazine felt as if it needed to cover the Nobel Prize due to the historical weight that the prize holds with the older readers, Roger explained. So, rather than explain the methods of your work to me, perhaps you could tell me about the results, and maybe we can work backward towards the methods. Spoken like a true physicist, Gustav said with a smile. You may not know much about physics, Mr. Dayton, but I suspect you do know how to dream? He asked. Roger nodded. I have developed a way to travel to parallel universes of infinite possibilities using only the power of my dreams to determine a destination of my choice, Gustav said. Roger raised an eyebrow. Now perhaps we should discuss the methods. Roger nodded. If what you say is true, that might be a good idea. Have you heard of a quantum computer? Gustav asked. Heard of it, Roger said. Just don't ask me to explain what it is. A regular computer processes information in noughts and dashes, like a binary code to determine information and process it accordingly. A quantum computer processes information with noughts and ones that do not operate in the same space. They can exist like atoms, being present and omnipresent, processing here and now and yet elsewhere at the same time, neither here nor not here. As such, you can fit more processing power into a smaller compound structure. It's a far more powerful way of achieving computing solutions. It is the absolute definition of cutting edge, he explained as he observed the confused look on Roger's face. This is not hyperbole, he said. I get it, Roger said, rising to his feet. So you invented the supercomputer. Well, that's wonderful. He focused his lens back on Gustav. No, I did not, Gustav explained. A team of technicians developed the concept of a quantum computer over many years. I merely harnessed an element that was discovered inside the motherboard. Have you ever slept with binaural beats? Gustav asked. I don't know, maybe, Roger said. They are a musical manifestation of a series of pulses taking place at different intervals. One goes at one rate of hertz in one ear and the other in another ear. It can be quite relaxing, explained Gustav. Roger began snapping at his subject again, tuning out of the conversation. The quantum computer was emitting a pulse that was faster than the speed of sound, and I suspected, quite rightly it turns out, faster than the speed of light. I harnessed the pulse into a musical note, a low octave E, and had it fed into my ears while I slept. Roger snapped his shutter over and over. The tone allowed me to harness an element inside our brains that is open for all to use but that has laid dormant throughout human history. A part of the brain that can only be opened with a frequency that can only be achieved with the use of a quantum computer. Amazing, Roger said, unamused. It allowed me to enter worlds parallel to this and beyond, Gustav continued. Worlds and times that showcase a plethora of alternate realities. Some that mirror this world. Others are completely different in every possible way, existing as an atom. I am neither here nor there at the same time. Roger continued to snap away, nonplussed. You don't say, he said. He removed the eyepiece away from his forehead and looked at the screen. The chair was empty. Roger looked at his subject and was confronted with a mirror to the LED screen. The chair was empty. The room was empty. Roger was alone.
For more stories of fact-based fiction, head to jimmins.substack.com.